The human princess faced the alien princess, then chose alliance over war. The sky was painted in colors that no human had ever named, swirling with shades of purple and gold. But her attention was not on the beauty of the sunset. Far above the clouds, something moved that made her heart beat faster. Silver ships, sleek and massive, were descending toward Earth. The humans had long dreamed of first contact with an alien race, and now that moment had arrived, not as a distant rumor or a satellite transmission, but in full view of every major city. Her mind raced. This was not a mere reconnaissance or diplomatic signal. These ships were enormous, yet silent as they glided through the upper atmosphere. Earth's defense systems were alert, tracking the fleet, but there was no sign of weapons being deployed. Still, the very presence of such advanced ships made the human heart anxious. Alara had been trained for moments like this, but even the most experienced leaders could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing on them. Inside the palace, the communication chamber buzzed with activity. Scientists, military advisors, and diplomats moved quickly, checking systems and relaying reports. Alara entered, her dress flowing behind her, but her eyes fixed on the large screen that displayed the approaching fleet. The image of the aliens appeared almost immediately, and with it, the figure of their princess. Lyra's appearance was unlike anything Alara had expected. Her skin was translucent, giving her a shimmering, ethereal look, and her eyes were a deep silver, reflecting a wisdom and intelligence that was both beautiful and intimidating. When she spoke, her voice was calm and melodic, yet it carried authority. "Greetings, Princess Alara," she said. "I am Lyra of the Veyari. We have observed your people and wish to speak." The room went silent. The advisors whispered anxiously, debating whether this was a trick, a test, or a prelude to conflict. Alara, however, kept her composure. She had been trained to remain calm under pressure, and she understood that every reaction she showed would shape humanity's future. "We welcome you," she replied. "I am ready to listen." Lyra's next words surprised even the most cautious diplomats. "We do not come to conquer or to demand. We come to understand and to learn. Your species has survived challenges we find intriguing. We wish to explore the possibility of cooperation." Alara blinked. Cooperation. That was not the word her advisors had been expecting. They had prepared for threats, negotiations, perhaps even war. Yet here was an alien princess offering dialogue and curiosity rather than domination. It was a rare moment, and Alara sensed its importance immediately. She nodded. "Then we shall meet. I will come to the neutral station you have prepared. Let us talk." Preparations for the meeting began immediately. The neutral station orbited a distant planet between Earth and the Veyari homeworld. It was a marvel of construction, designed to accommodate both species comfortably. Its corridors were wide, its halls filled with soft lighting and plants from multiple worlds. Alara watched the blue-green planet below, a swirl of oceans and land as her transport ship approached. The journey gave her time to reflect. Humanity had always viewed itself as small and fragile compared to the vast universe. Yet here she was, representing her species before a civilization that spanned multiple star systems. The weight of responsibility pressed on her, but she refused to let fear control her. She reminded herself of the training she had received, the lessons from mentors and elders, and the resilience that had defined humanity for centuries. When she arrived at the station, Lyra was waiting in a chamber that overlooked the planet below. The alien princess's posture was graceful, almost like a dancer, but there was a strength in her stance that conveyed leadership. Alara stepped forward, bowing lightly in respect. Lyra inclined her head, acknowledging the gesture. For a few moments, neither spoke. They simply observed one another, studying the differences and similarities that made each unique. Lyra's skin reflected the ambient light, and her eyes seemed to shift color slightly with every glance. Alara noticed the intricate patterns of the Veyari attire, flowing and elegant, yet practical. In that quiet moment, a bridge of understanding began to form, built not on words, but on presence. Finally, Lyra spoke. "Princess Alara, I have studied your people from afar. Your species faces many challenges, yet you continue to grow, adapt, and create. That is what brought me here. I wish to know more, not to judge, not to control, but to learn." Alara felt a sense of relief and curiosity. "Then we have much to discuss. We humans are not perfect. We make mistakes, we fight, we struggle. But we also create, we dream, and we care for one another. Perhaps that is what you find intriguing." Lyra smiled, a motion so subtle that it could have been mistaken for a shift in the light. It is indeed intriguing. Your creativity, your resilience, your determination to survive despite your flaws. It is rare, even among advanced civilizations. The conversation moved slowly at first, each princess careful with their words, aware that misunderstandings could have grave consequences. They spoke of history, of challenges faced by their people, and of the ways each civilization solved problems. Alara described humanity's efforts to build unity across continents, the struggles with scarcity and conflict, and the lessons learned from cooperation. Lyra shared stories of the Veyari, their journeys across stars, the discovery of worlds and life forms, and their philosophy of balance and observation. Hours passed like minutes. They walked through the station's gardens, where plants from Earth and Veyari worlds thrived together, an example of what collaboration could achieve. Birds and small flying creatures from multiple planets hovered near the flowers, a living demonstration of coexistence. At one point, Lyra stopped near a fountain that reflected both the light of the station and the planet below. "Princess Alara," she said softly, "I must ask, why does your species so often resort to conflict? You have the intelligence to solve problems in other ways. Yet history shows wars, battles, and disputes." Alara looked down at the fountain, her reflection mingling with that of the alien princess. "We are young in the cosmic sense," she admitted. "Our mistakes are many, our lessons hard, but we learn and we grow. I believe that is why I am here, to show that humans can choose a path of understanding over destruction." Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the water. "Then perhaps this meeting is more than curiosity. Perhaps it is the beginning of something new. Two species, different yet capable of learning from one another. That is rare." They continued to talk as the artificial sun in the station shifted, casting long shadows. The conversation moved from abstract ideas to concrete possibilities, sharing knowledge, exploring each other's arts and sciences, and even preparing for potential collaboration on distant planets. Each idea built upon the last, and each moment of understanding strengthened the fragile bridge forming between them. For Alara, the meeting was a revelation. She had expected cautious negotiation, perhaps veiled threats. Instead, she found honesty, curiosity, and a willingness to listen. It reminded her why she had trained for leadership, not to command from fear, but to inspire trust and cooperation. Lyra, too, was impressed. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their creativity and adaptability were unlike anything she had observed before. Here was a species that, despite flaws, had the potential to achieve greatness through choice, not conquest. As the meeting drew to a close, Lyra extended a gesture of partnership. "Princess Alara, I hope this is only the first of many discussions. We have much to learn from each other, and together, perhaps we can find solutions to challenges neither of our civilizations could face alone." Alara smiled, extending her hand in return. "We will meet again, Princess Lyra. And when we do, we will explore those possibilities together." The journey back to Earth was quiet, but Alara's mind was alive with ideas and plans. She understood the weight of the moment. First contact had not resulted in conflict, but in opportunity. The universe was vast, full of challenges and unknowns, but humanity had taken its first true step into a larger community of intelligent life. As her ship entered Earth's atmosphere, the princess looked down at her home planet with a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that the path ahead would not be simple. There would be skeptics, there would be fear, and there would be challenges to overcome. But for the first time, she felt a deep confidence. Humanity was not alone, and the choice between war and alliance had been made. The future, bright and uncertain, awaited, and Princess Alara was ready to guide her people toward it. She stepped off the ship, greeted by officials and citizens alike. The story of the Veyari's arrival spread across the globe, not as a tale of fear, but as a story of hope. People marveled at the images of the alien fleet, but more importantly, they understood the significance of what had happened. Humanity had faced the unknown and chosen dialogue, curiosity, and cooperation. That night, Alara stood once more on the balcony of her palace. The stars above seemed brighter, more alive than ever before. Somewhere among them, Lyra returned to her own people, thinking of the meeting and the possibilities it had opened. In that quiet moment, across the vast stretches of space, Two princesses shared a vision of a future where understanding was stronger than fear, and alliance more powerful than conflict. And for Princess Alara, that vision was only the beginning. Princess Alara returned to Earth after her first meeting with Lyra, but her mind remained on the distant space station and the alien princess she had met. The memory of Lyra's calm, intelligent presence lingered with her, and she often found herself walking through the gardens of her palace, imagining how different yet similar the two civilizations could be. Every conversation she had with her advisors now carried the shadow of what could be achieved if humans and Veyari worked together. Alara's first days back were full of planning. She met with the heads of science, diplomacy, and exploration, discussing the implications of this first contact. Humans were not ready to fully understand the Veyari technology, yet they were eager to learn. Alara encouraged them to focus on collaboration, not competition. "We are not here to challenge them," she said. "We are here to understand and grow together. That is the future we must build." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Princess Lyra returned to her own people. The Veyari had their own councils and advisors, but Lyra's report was different from what they had expected. She spoke not of threats, not of conquest, but of potential and promise. "The humans are unlike any species we have observed," she said. "They are unpredictable, yes, but creative and resilient. We can learn from them, and they can learn from us." Lyra's words met skepticism. Some Veyari argued that humans were primitive, dangerous, or unreliable. Others suggested that first contact should be handled carefully, with strict observation and distance. Lyra listened to every argument but stood firm. "Our goal is not to dominate or control. Our goal is understanding. That is the true measure of strength." Back on Earth, Alara continued preparations for the next meeting. She wanted it to be more than a conversation. She wanted humans and Veyari to see what collaboration could achieve. She suggested a project that would combine human creativity with Veyari technology, a floating research station in orbit above Earth. The idea excited both human scientists and engineers, though some skeptics raised concerns about the risks. Alara met these concerns with patience. "Risk is always present in the pursuit of progress," she said. "But when we work together, when we share knowledge and skill, the risk becomes an opportunity." She smiled, knowing that this was more than just words. She had felt it herself, the sense of possibility that came from trust and cooperation. When the day of the next meeting arrived, both princesses were ready. The neutral space station had been upgraded with laboratories, observation decks, and shared living spaces for both species. It was designed to be a symbol of collaboration, not hierarchy. Alara stepped off her transport, feeling a mixture of excitement and responsibility. She knew that this meeting would define the next steps of human-Veyari relations. Lyra greeted her warmly, and this time there was less caution in their interaction. They walked together through the station, discussing not only science and technology, but also art, culture, and philosophy. Lyra showed Alara holographic archives of Veyari history, explaining how their people had survived challenges and evolved over millennia. In return, Alara shared stories of human history, the triumphs and mistakes that shaped civilizations across Earth. Their conversations moved naturally from observation to debate. Lyra asked difficult questions about human conflicts, about why nations sometimes chose war over dialogue. Alara answered honestly, acknowledging humanity's flaws but emphasizing its potential. "We are not perfect," she said, "but we can choose to learn from each mistake. That is what makes us strong, not the wars we fight, but the lessons we carry forward." Lyra listened carefully, her eyes reflecting admiration. "That is rare. Many civilizations measure strength by conquest or control. Your people measure it by growth and resilience." It is fascinating. The meeting soon expanded to practical discussions. They explored ways humans and Veyari could collaborate on technology that could benefit both species. They discussed energy generation, advanced medicine, environmental monitoring, and even transportation across planetary systems. Alara found herself amazed by the potential of what could be achieved when creativity met intelligence and experience from two different worlds. While the work was intense, the princesses also made time for lighter moments. In one room, they experimented with a shared art project, combining Veyari holographic projections with human painting techniques. The result was a dazzling display of color and movement that neither princess had expected. In another area, they sampled food synthesized from Earth and Veyari ingredients, laughing at the unusual flavors and textures. These moments were more than recreation. They were proof that collaboration could be joyful as well as productive. However, not everyone was happy with their progress. On Earth, some advisors worried about trusting the Veyari too much. They suggested stricter monitoring and limiting shared projects. Lyra's people also had skeptics, worried that humans were too impulsive, too emotional, or too unpredictable to work with. Both princesses faced criticism from their respective sides. Instead of giving in to pressure, Alara and Lyra decided to address these concerns directly. They organized public sessions where humans and Veyari could observe each other's work, ask questions, and see firsthand the benefits of cooperation. Alara spoke to crowds of scientists and citizens, emphasizing that understanding required trust and patience. Lyra demonstrated Veyari inventions and technologies, showing how they could improve life without taking control. Slowly, skepticism gave way to curiosity, and curiosity led to excitement. During one session, an unexpected challenge arose. A system malfunction caused a temporary power disruption in part of the station, affecting some of the life support simulations and laboratory equipment. Alarms sounded, and human and Veyari staff rushed to respond. Alara and Lyra coordinated their teams, calmly assigning tasks and troubleshooting solutions. Together, they solved the problem without panic, relying on communication, strategy, and trust in each other's abilities. The event was a turning point. Observers noted how the two princesses worked seamlessly, blending their strengths and compensating for each other's differences. It became a symbol of what their alliance could achieve. Skeptics could no longer claim that humans were too reckless or that Veyari were too rigid. Cooperation had proven itself stronger than doubt. By the time the session ended, Alara and Lyra had formed a strong bond, not just as leaders but as partners. They shared stories of their childhoods, the lessons they had learned from their families, and the dreams they held for their peoples. In these moments, they were not princesses of separate worlds. They were friends, united by a shared vision of progress and understanding. One evening, as they observed the planet below from the station's observation deck, Lyra spoke softly. "Princess Alara, I did not expect to find this connection so quickly. Your people have a spirit that is rare. I am grateful that we chose dialogue instead of suspicion." Alara smiled, her eyes reflecting the blue oceans of Earth below. "And I am grateful that your people see potential in us, rather than flaws. This is only the beginning, Princess Lyra. Together, we can achieve much more than either of us could alone." Their discussion turned to plans for the future. They mapped out projects that could span multiple years, combining human creativity with Veyari technology to improve space travel, planetary exploration, and communication between distant worlds. They envisioned educational programs, cultural exchanges, and even shared missions to planets previously unexplored. As they worked late into the artificial night, both princesses understood that their alliance was more than a political agreement. It was a bond built on respect, curiosity, and trust. It would not be easy. There would always be challenges, misunderstandings, and unexpected obstacles. But they knew that together they could navigate any difficulty. Alara thought of the humans watching from Earth, inspired by the partnership she and Lyra were forming. She realized that this alliance could change the way humanity saw itself, teaching people that collaboration and empathy could be as powerful as any weapon. Lyra, in turn, considered the Veyari who doubted the humans. She hoped to show them that intelligence and strength were not always measured by control, but by the ability to cooperate and create. By the time the next day arrived, the princesses had drafted a series of collaborative projects and shared them with their respective councils. The responses were cautiously optimistic. Humans were intrigued by the possibilities of Veyari technology, while the Veyari were impressed by human creativity and determination. Even the skeptics began to see the potential for a future where both species could thrive together. As part 2 of their journey drew to a close, Alara and Lyra shared one last moment in the observation deck. The stars outside were endless, glittering reminders of the vast universe waiting to be explored. They stood side by side, not as rulers of separate worlds, but as pioneers of a new era. "Do you think our peoples are ready for this?" Alara asked quietly. Lyra looked at her, eyes calm and certain. "They will be." Because we will lead them not with fear or control, but with understanding and trust. That is a lesson worth learning. Alara nodded. Then let us begin. And so the alliance of two very different worlds began, not through war, but through dialogue, collaboration, and the shared dream of a future built on knowledge and empathy. The journey ahead was long, filled with challenges and surprises, but for the first time, humanity felt truly part of the larger universe. And Princess Alara, standing beside the alien princess, knew that this was only the beginning of a story that could change not just one world, but many. The days after the second meeting on the neutral space station were filled with both excitement and careful observation. Princess Alara and Princess Lyra had laid the groundwork for collaboration, but it quickly became clear that the path ahead would not be without challenges. Not all humans were ready to trust the Veyari, and not all Veyari were convinced that humans could handle the responsibilities of such cooperation. The princesses understood that the strength of their alliance depended not only on ideas and technology, but on patience, communication, and mutual respect. Alara returned to Earth briefly to oversee preparations for the next phase of collaboration. The projects were ambitious: a shared research station in orbit above Earth, educational programs connecting human and Veyari students, and joint exploration missions to distant moons. Each project carried risk, and many advisors whispered doubts. Some warned of spies, sabotage, or misunderstandings that could ignite fear and conflict. Yet Alara remained calm. "The only way forward is through understanding," she told them. "Doubt will not build the future. Trust, patience, and cooperation will." Lyra, on her side, faced her own challenges. The Veyari were a species that valued order and tradition, and some of their leaders questioned whether humans could meet their standards. They feared impulsiveness, mistakes, and misjudgments. Lyra understood these concerns, but she also believed that humans had a spark of creativity and resilience that no Veyari could replicate. "We do not fear mistakes," she told her council. "We fear the failure to try." Humans are capable of more than we know if we give them guidance and trust. The neutral station became a hub of activity. Humans and Veyari worked side by side, sometimes clumsily at first, learning each other's methods, technology, and ways of thinking. Humans marveled at the precision of Veyari science, while Veyari admired human adaptability and creativity. They experimented with energy systems, medical devices, and communication technologies. Alara often walked among the teams, offering guidance, encouragement, and reassurance. Lyra did the same, showing her people that cooperation could be stronger than strict control. Yet the station was not without tension. One morning, the alarm sounded unexpectedly. Systems in a section of the station had malfunctioned, threatening to disrupt critical research experiments. Technicians rushed to respond, some panicked, others frustrated. Alara and Lyra immediately took charge, assessing the problem calmly and dividing responsibilities. Alara analyzed the station's human systems while Lyra worked on the alien technology. They communicated constantly, translating ideas and terms between their teams. Slowly, the problem became clear. A minor misalignment in the energy converters had caused cascading errors. Neither side had anticipated the way their technologies would interact, and neither human nor Veyari could solve it alone. Working together, they adjusted the settings, recalibrated the systems, and guided their teams through a step-by-step process. Hours passed, but no one lost patience. By the end of the day, the station's systems were fully restored, and experiments could continue safely. What had begun as a potential disaster became a demonstration of the power of trust, collaboration, and shared problem-solving. Observers, both human and Veyari, took note. This incident was more than a technical achievement. It was a lesson in cooperation. Humans learned that caution, planning, and listening could prevent mistakes, while Veyari realized that flexibility and creativity were invaluable. The princesses had turned a challenge into an opportunity, and their bond grew stronger with each passing hour. Not long after, another challenge appeared, but this time, it was less technical and more political. Some factions on Earth began to question the wisdom of sharing technology with an alien species. Rumors spread that the Veyari might have hidden motives, or that humans could be giving away secrets too quickly. Likewise, some Veyari leaders pressured Lyra, warning that humans were impulsive and might misuse advanced tools. Alara and Lyra knew that addressing these doubts required more than reports and speeches. They organized a series of interactive sessions, inviting humans and Vayari to observe projects, ask questions, and participate directly. They demonstrated joint research experiments, cultural exchanges, and shared problem-solving activities. By allowing people to see results for themselves, the princesses reduced fear and built trust. During one session, they introduced a collaborative art project combining Vayari holographic technology and human painting. Participants from both species worked together to create dynamic, interactive displays. The project became a metaphor for their alliance. Different methods, different perspectives, blending to create something stronger and more beautiful than either could achieve alone. Citizens and scientists alike were inspired, realizing that cooperation offered tangible benefits. Even as they celebrated these successes, both princesses remained aware of potential sabotage or misunderstandings. Intelligence networks on both sides detected anomalies, unexplained signals, and unusual movements on parts of the station. Alara and Lyra decided to investigate together, rather than assume the worst. They reviewed logs, spoke with personnel, and monitored systems closely. Their investigation revealed that the anomalies were not attacks, but miscommunications between human and Vayari protocols. The differences in language, timing, and operational logic had caused confusion. While this was a relief, it also highlighted the need for clear communication and training. The princesses immediately established new procedures, ensuring that humans and Vayari could coordinate smoothly in the future. Through these experiences, Alara and Lyra learned something essential. Cooperation required patience, understanding, and humility. Neither species was perfect, and neither could achieve greatness alone. By acknowledging differences and finding ways to blend strengths, they could overcome obstacles more effectively than by relying solely on power or authority. Their personal bond deepened as well. In quiet moments, they shared stories of their childhoods, their dreams, and their fears. Alara spoke of growing up on Earth, the challenges of leadership, and the responsibility she felt for her people. Lyra shared tales of Vayari exploration, the strict discipline of her society, and her hope that understanding other civilizations could strengthen them all. In these conversations, they discovered not only similarities but complementary strengths. Alara's empathy and courage balanced Lyra's precision and foresight. One evening, as they watched the distant stars from the observation deck, Lyra asked softly, "Do you think our alliance can survive the doubts and fears of our peoples?" Alara smiled. "It will not be easy. There will always be skeptics, mistakes, and surprises. But we have something stronger than fear, trust, and cooperation. As long as we lead by example, others will follow." Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You are right. Leadership is not about control or domination. It is about showing the way forward, even when the path is uncertain." As the days turned into weeks, the princesses guided their respective teams through a series of collaborative missions. Humans and Vayari worked together on environmental studies, energy efficiency experiments, and education programs. The projects not only produced scientific results, but also strengthened social bonds. Students from both species exchanged messages, shared knowledge, and learned from each other's cultures. The future they envisioned began to take shape, one small step at a time. Yet the most important lesson came during a challenge neither princess had anticipated. A sudden communication blackout affected part of the station, leaving some areas temporarily isolated. Panic could have spread, but Alara and Lyra coordinated their teams with calm authority. They guided personnel to safety, reassured nervous participants, and solved the problem systematically. By the time systems were restored, everyone had witnessed a model of leadership and cooperation in action. In the aftermath, both princesses reflected on what had been accomplished. They realized that trust was the most powerful tool they possessed. Technology, intelligence, and creativity were valuable, but without trust and empathy, they could not achieve their potential. The alliance was no longer an idea or a project. It was a living, growing example of what two civilizations could achieve when they chose understanding over suspicion. Alara thought of the humans watching from Earth, inspired by these successes. She imagined children learning about Vayari science, students experimenting with joint technologies, and artists creating works influenced by alien perspectives. Humanity was learning that intelligence, creativity, and cooperation could be more powerful than fear or conflict. Lyra considered her own people, many of whom had doubted humans. She knew that patience and example were more effective than force. By demonstrating that humans could be trusted, she had opened doors that might have remained closed for centuries. She hoped that future generations of Veyari would remember this lesson. Strength was not only in power or precision, but in the courage to build relationships across differences. As Part 3 drew to a close, the princesses stood together once more on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before them, symbols of challenges and opportunities yet to come. They were no longer two leaders facing uncertainty. They were partners guiding their peoples toward a shared future. "Do you think we can maintain this trust?" Alara asked, watching a distant star flare. Lyra smiled, her silver eyes reflecting the light. "Trust is fragile, but it can grow stronger than fear if nurtured carefully, and I believe we are ready to nurture it." Alara nodded. "Then we continue. Step by step, project by project, we show our people the power of cooperation. We prove that alliance is stronger than suspicion." And so, the alliance between humans and Veyari grew stronger, tested not by battles, but by challenges that required patience, intelligence, and empathy. Princess Alara and Princess Lyra had learned that leadership was not about control, nor was it about avoiding mistakes. It was about guiding with wisdom, listening with care, and building bridges where others saw only walls. Their story was becoming a model for both species, demonstrating that differences were not obstacles but opportunities. And as they prepared for the next stage of collaboration, a series of joint exploration missions across uncharted space, they knew that the lessons they had learned would guide them through every challenge, proving that understanding and trust could shape the destiny of civilizations. The time had come for Princess Alara and Princess Lyra to take their alliance to the next level. Months of careful planning, collaboration, and trust-building had transformed both humans and Veyari from cautious observers into active participants in a joint effort that could change the future of their civilizations. The neutral space station had become a hub of learning, creativity, and shared discovery. But now it was time to show the wider universe what could be accomplished when two very different peoples worked together. Alara stood on the observation deck, looking down at Earth as it rotated slowly below. Cities sparkled in the twilight, and the oceans shimmered like liquid sapphire. She felt a sense of pride and responsibility, knowing that the choices she and Lyra had made were shaping the lives of billions. Beside her, Lyra watched the planet with a quiet intensity, her eyes reflecting the same mixture of hope and determination. "The world is ready for this," Alara said softly. "Not everyone will understand immediately, but they will see the results. They will see what cooperation can achieve." Lyra nodded. "Our peoples are watching, and the future depends on how we guide them. We must continue to lead by example." The first demonstration of their alliance was to be a joint educational and technological program. Humans and Veyari would create an advanced learning station orbiting the moon, combining Earth's creativity with Veyari precision. The goal was not only to teach new generations about science and art, but also to foster understanding between the species. Alara and Lyra had spent weeks designing the curriculum, ensuring that students could contribute ideas, experiment safely, and learn from each other. When the first group of students arrived, the station was alive with energy. Humans and Veyari explored the facilities together, their curiosity shining brightly in their eyes. Alara guided them through workshops on engineering, painting, music, and holographic design. Lyra demonstrated advanced scientific equipment and taught the students how to analyze complex data. What began as a structured learning experience quickly turned into a vibrant collaboration, with students inventing new methods, sharing ideas, and inspiring one another. Alara watched with pride as human and Veyari students solved problems together. A group of young humans had designed a unique power converter, and Veyari students suggested enhancements using holographic modeling. Within hours, a prototype was ready, something neither species could have achieved alone. The princesses knew that this was more than a success in science. It was proof that collaboration and mutual respect could lead to extraordinary results. Meanwhile, the leaders of both civilizations observed the progress with growing optimism. Skeptics who had warned against trusting the other species now found themselves impressed by the results. Humans realized that Veyari technology could accelerate progress in medicine, energy, and exploration. Veyari discovered that humans, creativity and adaptability could lead to innovations that logic and precision alone might never produce. Slowly, fear and doubt gave way to excitement and hope, but Alara and Lyra were not naive. They knew that challenges still lay ahead. Misunderstandings could arise, cultural differences could create friction, and external observers, other civilizations watching silently from afar, might question or even try to undermine their efforts. To prepare, the princesses organized joint leadership councils, ensuring that decisions were made collaboratively, transparently, and fairly. Every major project required input from both humans and Veyari, and disagreements were resolved through dialogue, reasoning, and compromise. One challenge came unexpectedly during a planetary observation mission. A rare solar phenomenon created magnetic interference, affecting communication between the lunar station and Earth. Scientists and engineers from both species scrambled to maintain contact and ensure the safety of students and staff. Alara and Lyra coordinated the response, calmly assigning tasks, providing guidance, and reassuring everyone that the situation was under control. By working together, they not only solved the technical problem but also strengthened trust among their teams. Humans learned to anticipate and adapt to sudden changes, while Veyari learned to value flexibility and creative solutions. The incident became another example of the Alliance's power, showing that intelligence and cooperation could overcome unexpected obstacles without fear or panic. Beyond technology and science, Alara and Lyra understood the importance of culture and connection. They initiated shared art and music projects, allowing humans and Veyari to express themselves in ways that transcended language. Holographic art installations combined with human painting, musical performances blended alien instruments with Earth's, and theatrical productions told stories that reflected the histories and dreams of both species. The cultural exchange deepened empathy, understanding, and appreciation, reminding everyone that alliance was not only practical but also meaningful on a personal level. Even as the successes grew, small challenges persisted. Some humans struggled with Veyari social customs, while some Veyari had difficulty understanding human emotions and behaviors. Alara and Lyra treated these difficulties as opportunities for learning rather than conflicts. They organized workshops and discussions, teaching their people how to communicate effectively, respect differences, and value each other's perspectives. Slowly but surely, the barriers between species diminished. One day, as the princesses observed students collaborating in the lunar station's gardens, Lyra spoke quietly. "Princess Alara, look at them. They no longer see differences as obstacles. They see possibility. That is the future we envisioned." Alara smiled, watching a young human and Veyari student laughing together over a failed experiment. "Yes, and it is growing stronger every day. They will take what we have started and go further than we ever imagined. That is the true power of alliance." The climax of their work came when the two princesses organized the first official treaty ceremony between humans and Veyari. Representatives from both civilizations gathered on the neutral station, dressed in formal attire, yet filled with anticipation rather than fear. The treaty outlined cooperation in science, education, exploration, and culture, emphasizing mutual respect, trust, and shared responsibility. It was a historic moment, witnessed not only by those present but broadcast to millions across Earth and the Veyari homeworld. Alara and Lyra spoke together before signing the treaty. "We have learned that intelligence, creativity, and empathy are stronger than suspicion," Alara said. "Together, we can achieve more than we could alone." This treaty is not just a document, it is a promise to build a future where our peoples thrive side by side. Lyra added, "Our differences are our strength. Our willingness to trust, to learn, and to create together is our power." This alliance is proof that understanding and cooperation can shape the destiny of civilizations. When they signed the treaty, applause and cheers filled the chamber. Humans and Veyari alike felt a sense of pride, hope, and possibility. The moment was not just a political achievement, it was a cultural and emotional triumph. It symbolized a new era where fear and suspicion could be replaced with curiosity, respect, and collaboration. After the ceremony, Alara and Lyra took a moment to walk through the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of the vast universe waiting to be explored. They knew that challenges would continue to arise, that misunderstandings could still occur, and that other civilizations might watch them with curiosity or skepticism. But they also knew that they had created a foundation strong enough to face anything together. "Do you think our peoples will continue on this path?" Ilara asked. Lyra looked at her, eyes calm and certain. "They will, because we have shown them what is possible when trust, respect, and cooperation guide our actions. They have seen the results, and results speak louder than fear." Ilara nodded. "Then let us continue. Step by step, project by project, we build not just technology but understanding. We prove that alliance is stronger than conflict, and that cooperation can shape the future of worlds." The next days were filled with celebrations, but also with new initiatives. Humans and Veyari began planning joint exploration missions to distant planets, exchanging knowledge and resources to ensure success. Scientists and engineers collaborated on energy systems that could benefit multiple worlds. Cultural programs expanded, teaching the values of empathy, trust, and shared creativity. As Part 4 progressed, it became clear that the alliance was not just a story of two princesses. It was a story of civilizations choosing cooperation over fear. Humans discovered that alien intelligence could enhance their creativity, problem-solving, and understanding of the universe. Veyari discovered that human resilience, emotion, and imagination could lead to innovation and insight that pure logic alone might never achieve. Together, they were creating something entirely new. Ilara often reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From the first cautious conversation on the neutral space station to the successes of education, art, and joint projects, the story of humans and Veyari had become a living example of what could happen when differences were celebrated rather than feared. The alliance was not perfect, but it was real, growing, and powerful. Lyra, too, reflected on the lessons learned. Leadership was not about controlling others or enforcing obedience. It was about inspiring trust, fostering collaboration, and showing that understanding could achieve more than dominance. By choosing dialogue over suspicion, curiosity over fear, and collaboration over isolation, the two princesses had created a path that others could follow for generations. As the artificial night fell on the lunar station, the princesses stood together one last time in Part 4, gazing at Earth and the stars beyond. The journey of alliance was only beginning, but the foundation was solid. Humans and Veyari had discovered that together, they could face the unknown, explore distant worlds, and build a future that honored intelligence, creativity, and empathy. "Do you think the universe is ready for this?" Ilara asked. Lyra smiled, her voice calm and confident. "It does not matter if it is ready. We are ready, and that is enough." Ilara nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility mixed with hope. Together, they had chosen trust over fear, collaboration over conflict, and understanding over suspicion. And in that choice, they had opened the door to a future where humanity and the Veyari could thrive side by side, exploring the stars, learning from each other, and proving that intelligence and empathy could triumph over doubt and fear. As the station glowed softly around them, the princesses made a silent promise to continue guiding their peoples, to nurture the alliance, and to inspire generations to come. Their story would not end with a single treaty or a single success. It would continue across worlds, in the lives of every human and Veyari who chose to learn, to create, and to trust. And so, the human princess and the alien princess had done more than avoid war. They had built something stronger, a bridge between worlds, a model of cooperation, and a vision of a future where alliance was stronger than conflict, and understanding could illuminate even the darkest reaches of the universe. Together, they had shown that the greatest victories were not won with weapons or power, but with curiosity, empathy, and the courage to build a better future, step by step, project by project, heart by heart. The human princess faced the alien princess, then chose alliance over war.